What's the most American thing ever that if explained to a non-American might just sound crazy? There is a place a short drive from my house that is a firearms, military merchandise store in the front half of the building and in the back half, just down a short hallway, is a barbecue restaurant. It's a magical place. When I was in Tennessee as an exchange student for a year, I was surprised by the team spirit of each high school. Like how there was a football game every Friday night and almost all of the school was there to cheer them on. That would never happen in my country. Warehouse-type grocery stores, Costco, Super Saver. My great-uncle from Australia would always take photos and my Korean non-Seoul friends thought this was crazy we'd have so much space for a grocery store. As a South African, what amazed me was the competitors call each other out in advertisements. I couldn't believe it at first, it seemed so unusual. Adverts for medication. You've got happy people and stuff in the ad and then, it may cause death. French guy who lived in NC for a while here. To me, the weirdest thing was all the advertisement for prescription drugs on TV, radio, and online. It's crazy waking up in the morning and suddenly while you're having your morning coffee and cereals, your TV starts spewing stuff about some random meds like they're Tic Tacs you can just arbitrarily decide you need. The worst is honestly the mandatory side effect warning at the end of every ad. I nearly choked on my egg sandwich the first time that voice came up warning people about horrific stuff that could potentially happen if they took the drug. I have lived in quite a few countries around the world, and the US is the only place where I saw this. Do you guys know what s'mores are? Edit. I get it. You've seen The Sandlot. You're killing me, Smalls. I think I will use this thread and ask something to you Americans. Are the movie stereotypes of cheerleaders and football players true? Do all schools have a football team with associated cheerleaders? And are the people who join them usually popular kids? I am only right upstairs in Canada, but I've never even heard of a school that has cheerleaders. Also, what is a homecoming dance? Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Apparently. Edit. I'm American, but I recently learned that much of the world finds PB&J to be an odd combination. As a Brit, what shocked me was learning about just how huge your college sports games are. A university, college football, soccer team game here might draw a crowd of a few hundred. A friend who went to the University of Texas told me their American football stadium seats 100,000. What the actual? Hospitals buy ad space on billboards. I've never left the country. But we must be the only country that has hospitals advertising like Burger King. IDK if that's fitting here. But I simply don't get why the grading system is A B C D F. What happened to E? It's okay to walk around with a gun, but not a beer. Edit. 40 of the 50 states do not require any license to carry a firearm openly. Fraternities, sororities. Yeah, so we just joined brother, sisterhoods when we go off to college with secret rituals and traditions. Walmart you can get a haircut. Buy a gun and ammo. With your groceries. The age-old question of, are those firecrackers or gunshots? Still weirded out about refills and sizes of drinks specific to soda. The low bar to get a driver's license. Traveling between major cities, the distances are insane, especially just feeling completely alone in the middle of nowhere. Health insurance. Premiums. Deductibles. Co-insurance. Copays. Out-of-pocket maximums. In-network. Etc. It's an insane amount of knowledge that you need to have to make a good decision about your health coverage. And no one teaches you any of this. You have to go and learn it yourself on the internet. When purchasing an item, the listed price is actually not the amount you'll have to pay at checkout, it will be more. One of my Canadian friend told me that. Back in 2003. When France refused to take part in the war against Iraq. Some Congress cafeterias and some restaurant in the USA renamed French fries in Freedom Fries. I think it's the most passive-aggressive and American thing you could have done. Plus, fries come from Belgium, not France. The crazy amount of food you guys serve. Like, the French fries you serve as a side and large glass of Pepsi is enough to fill me up. Edit. Grammar. The first time I went shopping in US I realized, after the cashier explained to me, how taxes are not included in the price tag. To this day I'm not convinced as to why. Their 5 de Mayo celebrations. I have never met a Mexican who celebrates this holiday lol. I studied in Chicago for a month at 17. And I was so confused as to why all your bread was sweet. I get migraines if I eat too much sugar and I basically lived off of chips, mac and cheese, and the salad bar in our accommodation. On the 4th of July I just ate a bowl of carrots dipped in ranch dressing as I didn't eat meat at the time. It still had enough sugar to knock me out. Also your painkiller bottles are huge. I had to buy ibuprofen and the smallest bottle was like 100 pills. I haven't finished it yet and that trip was 2 years ago. I live in a right-to-hire state. That basically means that, with a few exceptions, my employer can fire me at any time without reason. With zero notice. It is possible to get a job with a contract. But those are rare unless you have a very high-paying position. This is quite common in the USA from what a lawyer told me. I've read stories on this site of other places that are not like this. I always thought this was normal before. 3K plus upvotes. WTF, that's pretty cool. Do you guys in the US get paid holidays? We have weeks of paid holidays, not including the bank holidays. I saw someone saying that in the US they practically work perpetually for their company with no time off. How? Proms and homecoming dances, I don't know if they are one and the same or how many there are. Americans make such a huge deal out of it that pass around awards for whoever is the prettiest, dances the best. The whole thing just seems so bizarre and out of this world to a European that I have to ask if any of you can explain in detail why they are the way that they are lol. We just organize with the teachers some school parties that are usually in big clubs once or twice a year and they turn a blind eye on alcohol because you guys are also really strict on alcohol until you're 21. Another kinda odd thing is when you guys are allowed to drink you just go all over the news in Mediterranean places for causing trouble. Not an American Brit, but when I watch live streaming Premier League on American channels, all legal of course, I honestly find the advertisements so strange. They're so aggressive? I don't know if that's the right word, but honestly it's a fun experience. The car adverts are the best. Edit. My first gold. Thanks a lot, kind stranger. I was on a night train in Italy from Rome to Venice. I explained beef jerky and he asked me why we would do that to steak. And I was like, blame the cowboys. I honestly couldn't believe people had to worry about calling an ambulance because of the fees. Like, WTF? Imagine being seriously hurt or sick and hesitating to call an ambulance and having to think about how much it will cost. Can't imagine it. You need to use a credit card at a very young age in order to have a proper credit rating. Everywhere in the world a credit card means you're spending money you don't have. Thus you should have a bad credit rating. I saw on a post a while ago that some people in Europe thought the big yellow school buses were our folklore and not real. Only in the shows and movies. Sorry kiddo. Run down. Barely functional yellow .. death traps .. public transportation is the standard round these parts. The way American public schools treat children with disabilities is bizarre. I was fortunate enough to be in district that had a separate section for children who couldn't function well in a traditional classroom. However, the expectations were so low as to be laughable. I had a math class with a great teacher but only me and one other kid attended while everyone else was God knows where. During the last few weeks of that class all we did was watch movies like LOTR. Nobody ever checked in on us or questioned why this was happening. It's a shame really. The kids I met were smart and clever but didn't really get the support they needed. Some just had anxiety and couldn't handle test taking. Others, like me, simply needed a smaller classroom size. 30 kids per class was standard at the time. But under 15 for special ed. All were just filed away under a individualized education plan and never looked into again unless there were big problems. I was split between regular and special ed in my final year of high school. The only accommodation I got for my regular ed classes was a little keyboard, LCD screen combo to type on instead of handwriting. I aced them all because, surprise, I don't have a learning disability. I had dysgraphia and autism. After a decade plus spent in public schools. No one had figured it out why I did better or worse. All that was done was to shuffle me. And kids like me. Around to be someone else's problem. Edit. To provide more context. I am referring to my high school 15 years ago. I had different experiences there compared to elementary and middle school. All of those schools were less than 5 miles from each other and in the same county. As I posted below, this district did not lack money and was attended by students from poor to upper middle class. At the time, I was in one of the wealthiest and most populated counties in northern VA. My public high school held over 2,000 students on an average day, and the special ed classes had both a teacher and an assistant. Your local area may differ greatly, but I still implore you to seek out a local PTA meeting and/or talk to any parents in your neighborhood if you want a better understanding of these issues.